He was the most popular singer at the bar, and every time he sang, the whole place would erupt with excited women singing along, while his wife always sat stone-faced in the audience, seen by everyone as a boring housewife. When his song ended and no one else came on stage to perform, someone suddenly shouted for his wife, Holly, to sing a song instead. Gerry shook his head immediately.
I love Holly, I do. But she would never have the guts to do something like this. I'll bet you $100 she doesn't get up on this stage.
It was clearly a challenge meant to provoke Holly, but after downing a shot of whiskey, she decided to accept it head-on.
Make it 2.
Instantly, the entire bar lit up with excitement, and Gerry was shocked. He was about to witness a completely different side of his wife and would soon regret his actions. As the music played, Holly transformed from a dull housewife into a stunning bombshell, then hurled her headband straight at her husband's face. She was ready to make them see her in a whole new light.
All I want to do is wrong. You know what, and baby, who knows how long.
Holly deliberately chose a suggestive song, making Gerry's scalp tingle with discomfort, and he had to cover his friend's eyes with the headband. Gerry was too embarrassed to say a single word, and seeing this, Holly only performed with even more passion, until the very next second. A chorus of sirens brought an end to the couple's play, and as a result, Holly fractured both her nose and ankle, but Gerry praised her for finally breaking through herself and becoming the rising star in everyone's eyes. But then Gerry immediately realized he'd said the wrong thing and quickly lowered his head to apologize. They had been married for 9 years, and almost every day ended in an argument. Apologizing behind Holly was a daily ritual for Gerry, part of his routine after work, played out from the street all the way home.
Baby, Holly, should I know what it is? Or is it something maybe you just think you did? No, I did it.
Sometimes Holly would stop and wait for him, but most of the time, they argued all the way to their doorstep. Holly had plenty of reasons to be mad. She was angry that Gerry constantly made fun of her, angry that he was nearly 30 and still wanted to start a business, and angry that the meals they cooked together lacked passion. Especially today, Gerry had the nerve to complain to Holly's mother that Holly didn't want children. Holly believed it should be a car first, then a house, and only then a child. She didn't want to spend her whole life in a cramped rental flat. But Gerry thought they could have kids even without money. Whenever a fight escalated, Holly would yell at Gerry to get out, and he'd slam the door and leave without hesitation. But within 10 seconds, Holly would nervously peek her head out, just as Gerry expected.
Are we finished now, love? Can I come back?
Sorry.
Thankfully, they always made up after each fight. Gerry admitted he shouldn't have tattled, and he believed Holly's mom still disliked him because when they got married, Holly was only 19, and her mother was convinced it was a mistake. That's why Holly didn't want to make any mistakes. She was desperate to prove their love wasn't wrong, which sometimes made her impatient. Just like that, they made up and were back to how they used to be. Holly often feared they'd never be able to afford a big house or have kids like rich people do. But Gerry felt his life was already perfect because the one thing he wanted most was already in his arms. Gerry always found ways to make Holly laugh. After 9 years of marriage, while other couples faded and grew apart, Gerry and Holly, who always seemed to be on the brink, were still like two people madly in love, each other's irreplaceable soulmate. But as the saying goes, you never know how much you love someone until the day they're gone. One winter, a year later, Gerry passed away from terminal brain cancer. Friends were invited to his funeral, but it wasn't held in a church. It took place at the bar they all used to hang out in. Instead of prayers, the priest honored Gerry's final wish by having everyone sing his favorite song together. Holly couldn't help but laugh. This was so Gerry. In front of the urn were rows of shot glasses, and Gerry's best friend was the first to toast him, downing his drink in one go before flipping the glass upside down on the urn as a final farewell. Thanks to Gerry's arrangement, the funeral felt more like a party. Some people were even flirting, and others shared funny stories about him. With drinks and laughter all around, Holly looked as if nothing had happened, like Gerry's death hadn't affected her at all. But when Holly returned home alone carrying the urn, she froze as she stepped into the bedroom. The tiny apartment she had once complained about now felt terrifyingly empty, as if loneliness might devour her any second, so she quickly dialed that familiar number.
Hey, it's Gerry. That is Scary Limo. Leave a message.
But now, all she got was a cold, automated message. Unwilling to accept it, Holly called again and again, tears rolling down her face, because only then could she barely fall asleep. The next day, her mother and friends flooded her with condolence calls, but Holly didn't answer a single one. She put on Gerry's old jacket, made 2 cups of coffee out of habit, and while watching a movie about love-crazed heroines, Holly wished she could be strong too, but she still wasn't used to not having someone behind her, apologizing after every fight. The only sound at home came from the noisy television. Holly reached to the side only to come up with nothing but air. Then she suddenly laughed, as if she could see Gerry again, holding his guitar and singing just for her. That night, Holly chose to sleep on the sofa because it still carried a trace of Gerry's scent. 3 weeks passed, and Holly hadn't gone to work or even stepped outside. The apartment was a complete mess, and she wandered around in Gerry's shirt, belting out heartbreaking love songs, until she turned around and saw her mother and best friend standing at the door. They were both shocked by how disheveled Holly had become.
Happy birthday!
You're 30!
It turned out today was Holly's 30th birthday, a date even she had completely forgotten. Then, a mysterious package arrived at her door, containing a huge birthday cake. Holly thought it was her friends who had sent it to comfort her, but everyone firmly denied it until they discovered a tape recorder hidden inside the box. "Hey baby, surprise!" It turned out that everything had been planned by Gerry. He chose this way to accompany the woman he loved on her 30th birthday. Gerry told Holly that he had written 7 letters in total, and starting tomorrow, she would receive them in various ways. There was no need to wonder when they'd come. He had it all planned. All Holly needed to do was follow along.
Because the thing is, I just can't say goodbye yet. Know that wherever I am, I'm missing you. Happy birthday. I love you.
Maybe Gerry had already known Holly would shut herself off after the funeral, so the first thing he asked of her was to dress up beautifully and go party with her girls to celebrate her birthday. At the birthday party, everyone had fun, but Holly quietly slipped away into a dark room. That night, she got so drunk she passed out on the bed, whispering one name over and over. The next morning, Holly planned to hide away again, but her friend reminded her to check the mailbox. Suddenly, Holly was thrilled. She ran downstairs as if she were about to see Gerry again. Sure enough, inside the mailbox was a brand new letter. Gerry told her to buy a bedside lamp and a sexy outfit. Though she didn't quite understand why, she couldn't stop smiling. P.S. I love you. As the lamp lit up the room, Holly was pulled into a wave of memories. Back then, trying to save money, they couldn't afford a lamp and would always argue over who had to get up to turn off the light, sometimes stubbing their toes and crying in pain. Now, Holly would never have to get out of bed to turn off the light again. She could feel that Gerry was still there, in every corner of the room, always watching over her. With that, Holly finally found the courage to return to work. That day, a successful man came in to view a house. He and his wife had just had their 3rd child and urgently needed a bigger home. But the property was in high demand and required an extra $100,000 above their budget. His wife insisted on closing the deal that day. Seeing how aggressive she was, Holly suddenly saw her old self in this woman.
She's being a tyrant. She's got your balls on one of those things that, cling back and forth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You brat. Shut up. You shut up.
She ended up getting into a shouting match with the client right in the middle of work and was promptly fired. But maybe that wasn't a bad thing. After all, Gerry had always known she never liked that job. Days passed, and by early spring, Holly finally received the 2nd letter. Gerry told her to put on the dress and sing at the bar, a reminder of the night she broke her nose and ankle after being pushed on stage by Gerry. He knew Holly actually loved singing. She just never had the confidence to show it. This time, no one forced her, but she still chose to go on stage. When she turned to face the audience, she saw her friends, her family, and familiar faces, but in that moment, she could only see one person.
All I want is for you to say, I love you till the end.
With With deep emotion in her voice, Holly sang her heart out, and the crowd responded with thunderous applause. From then on, she would never fear any stage life threw at her again. The third letter turned up unexpectedly in the pocket of Gerry's old leather jacket. Gerry decided to give the jacket to Holly, saying he had always loved how she looked in it. As for everything else that belonged to him, it was time to let them go. Holly didn't need them anymore, and they were taking up too much space. "It's time, baby. P.S. I love you." Holly had never imagined that Gerry had so many things. She packed everything into boxes and mailed it all to his parents, like she was mailing him away from herself. That night, she saw Gerry again. She realized it had been a long time since she felt his presence, or remembered what a hug felt like. Summer came quietly, and every day Holly waited downstairs, hoping for another letter to arrive. This time it was different. The letter led her to a travel agency, where the receptionist burst into tears upon seeing her.
"Your wife."
Gerry had arranged a trip for Holly, timed for when her friends would be off work so they could all go together. Holly was overwhelmed with joy. Seeing her daughter sinking deeper and deeper, Patricia grew increasingly worried. Gerry's life has already ended, and the letters won't keep coming forever. Holly will have to face reality on her own eventually. Patricia had also lost her husband at a young age, so she knew if Holly couldn't break free, the rest of her life might be filled with sorrow. Holly was unfortunate to experience the same fate, but at this point she still wasn't ready to move on alone. When the first chill of autumn set in, Holly followed the letter's instructions and arrived in Gerry's homeland, Ireland. The destination was a grand estate. Turns out, the big house Holly had always dreamed of had never left Gerry's mind. Inside the entry hall lay the fifth letter, calmly waiting on the table. It detailed where to go, who they might meet, and highlighted one particular bar that Gerry insisted they visit. But oddly, not once in the letter did Gerry mention Holly by name, which left her puzzled. That night, Holly and her two closest friends, Denise and Sharon, went to the bar Gerry mentioned, and there, as if by fate, they saw a man who looked incredibly like Gerry. Same short hair, same love for singing, even his mannerisms were eerily similar. Many young women in the bar were drawn to him, but none managed to strike up a conversation. Encouraged by her friends, Holly bravely approached him, fully expecting to be rejected.
Hi. I just wanted to say I really loved your music. Your music is beautiful.
Thanks,
Holly.
William.
Gerry had been the only man in her life, and now she was a widow. To her surprise, her awkward attempt at small talk actually won William's attention, as if destiny had stepped in. William asked Holly to stay, then got on stage to sing a love song just for her. As the chords flowed under the neon lights, Holly was hit with a wave of emotion. This was the same song Gerry had once sung for her. Though the decor had changed, she was certain it was the same bar. Back then, they had only met once. Gerry spotted Holly in the crowd at a glance, sang as he walked toward her, and she kept stepping back, shyly avoiding him, until one kiss sealed their fate. Until Holly was pulled back to reality. Before the song even ended, her eyes had already filled with tears. She rushed out of the bar, and William watched her leaving figure in disappointment. But maybe this was all part of Gerry's plan. He hoped that Holly would find someone new, so she could forget him sooner and start living again. Denise and Sharon both agreed that William seemed like a great choice for a second chance at love. Suddenly, the fishing rod twitched. They'd caught a big fish, but in a moment of clumsiness, not only did the fish get away, the paddle was swept away by the lake, leaving the three of them stranded on the boat. During their conversation, Sharon accidentally let it slip. She was already 2 months pregnant, with her baby due in March next year. Denise casually revealed that she was getting married right after the new year, to someone she had met at Gerry's funeral. Hearing this, Holly was overwhelmed with mixed emotions, as if everything around her was moving in a better direction, while she alone had fallen apart after Gerry's death. As nightfall approached, the rescue team finally arrived, and by coincidence, one of the rescuers was William. It turned out William wasn't just a resident musician at the bar. He also worked part-time as a lake rescue lifeguard. Their fondness for William soared instantly. To express their gratitude, Denise and Sharon insisted he stay for dinner, throwing Holly knowing glances the whole time. Of course, Holly understood exactly what they were suggesting. After dinner, Denise and Sharon quietly made themselves scarce, leaving all the time in the world to Holly and William. Gerry had been gone for a whole year, and the man before her looked so much like him. Under the influence of alcohol, Holly almost believed she was seeing Gerry again.
Sorry. Oh, I can't do this. I'm sorry. It's not you. Look, I'm just shaking. I don't know how to do this. I don't even know if I want to. I haven't been held in. Oh, never mind. I'm just screwed up. I'm trouble.
A sudden kiss startled William. Maybe it was true loneliness, or maybe she was just longing for a trace of Gerry's presence. Holly and William ended up sharing a romantic night together. Soon after, regret flooded in, and Holly realized why she had fallen for William so fast. William had grown up with Gerry. They were childhood best friends, practically brothers. That's why they looked so alike. Even their taste in partners was uncannily similar. Back then, William only knew Gerry had met a girl. Then, Gerry left town, and they lost touch. He never imagined that girl was Holly. Thinking back to the letter that had specifically mentioned the bar, Holly couldn't believe it. This really was all part of Gerry's plan. He had intended to entrust her to the person he trusted most. But Holly couldn't accept it. William reminded her too much of Gerry, constantly dragging her back to memories of the love they once shared. Holly didn't stay. The next day, she went into town to visit Gerry's parents, her first time visiting them as their daughter-in-law, but sadly, it was only after Gerry had passed away. And in his mother's hand was the 6th letter. Gerry had known her too well. He was certain that once Holly arrived in Ireland, she'd come to see his parents.
Sorry we didn't in the past. I just thought you were angry with me for taking Gerry away.
She wanted you dead, you know.
Martin, don't you dare.
No, I don't blame you.
But Gerry loved you. I saw that. I saw that.
7 letters, each one a farewell, but this time, it was a first encounter. The arc of love had returned to where it all began. The story began in a small town in Ireland. It felt a little cliché, maybe even unreal, because the boy had never seen so many colors in one girl. She stood in front of him, like she belonged to the landscape, and all her colors mesmerized him. Gerry fell in love with Holly at first sight. They were just 19 or 20 then. Holly had come to Ireland on a holiday during her university break, but got lost. Cold, hungry, and desperate to return to her inn. Luckily, she met Gerry. He gave her directions and walked with her, and somehow the two clicked. Holly was full of dreams. She studied art and was determined to create something she loved, her thoughts wild and endless. Gerry nodded constantly, though he didn't understand much of what she said. All he knew was that he loved the way she talked, and that he had already fallen for her. Holly said she liked his leather jacket, so Gerry draped it over her shoulders. But soon, their time was up. Holly reached her hotel and was set to leave. Just as she began to take off the jacket, a stray dog ran toward them. Not wanting to miss his chance, Gerry quickly hugged Holly from behind and lied, saying it was a rare Irish wild dog that would bite if they moved. But Holly saw the shiny dog tag right away. She understood instantly and turned around to kiss Gerry. Her kissing skills weren't great, but luckily, this was something Gerry excelled at. Before she left, Gerry wanted to tell her where to find him, but Holly insisted on leaving nothing behind. "If we ever meet again," she said, "then it's fate."
And now it's changed again, love. See, I don't worry about you remembering me. It's that girl on the road you keep forgetting. Doesn't even matter what you do. You told me that, remember?
Gerry remembered the way Holly looked in his jacket. He remembered her awkward kiss. Most of all, he remembered her original dream. Through the years, they worked hard to make a living. Gerry had watched as the woman he loved gave up her passion just to earn more money, stuck in a job she hated. Stress and frustration turned their love into constant fights and wounds. Gerry was never afraid Holly would forget him, but he was worried that Holly would have to live alone in the future, so she needed a stable job that she truly enjoyed. Therefore, Gerry encouraged Holly to pick up the passion she once had. When you face life with courage, it will always surprise you with something in return. One day, as she stared at a beautiful pair of heels on screen, with a perfect button pinned on the tongue, Holly picked up her pencil and paper once more, ready to chase her dream. Thanks to that love and passion, by the next autumn, Holly landed a job designing shoes. Over time, she gained a bit of recognition. She even designed Denise's wedding heels. She also had a few admirers, but every now and then, she would still accidentally say that name.
Gerry, stop it.
Daniel.
That day, Holly broke down completely. Even after all this time, she still couldn't forget Gerry. She collapsed into her mother's arms, sobbing, saying she missed him so much. Seeing her daughter so shattered, her mother quietly reflected, then took Holly for a walk in the park the next day. And there, she handed Holly the 7th letter. It turned out, all this time, Holly's mother had been mailing the letters according to Gerry's will. She hadn't planned to deliver this last one, but in the end, she couldn't bear to withhold it.
Now, alone or not, you gotta walk ahead. If we're all alone, then we're all together in that too.
The content of this final letter was more plain than any of the ones before. And yet, Holly read it over and over. It didn't mention the past. It didn't ask her to buy a lamp, because Gerry believed that by the time this letter reached her, Holly would already be okay living on her own. He thanked her, from the bottom of his heart, for walking into his life. Because of her love, he had become a better man. Because of her love, his life was whole, without regrets. So he told her he was just one chapter in her life. The rest should be full of new stories, not stuck in the past. Don't be afraid to love again, because 2 people are always better than 1. Yes, I love you. Later, Holly became a rising star in shoe design, but she never fell in love again. She used her earnings to travel the world with her mother. Ireland remained their most visited destination. Holly promised to regularly visit Gerry's parents, and she promised she would live well. Not everyone gets an epic love story. Most people are just passing spectators. But I still remember the time I felt hollow staring blankly at my computer screen. Time moves on, but longing corners us with no way out. They say love is a game for the brave, because when it ends, a part of you dies with it. Afraid to lose, afraid to cry, we all turn into cowards, because not everyone gets 7 letters of goodbye. But maybe what we fear most isn't failure. It's being left alone. It's an unfinished farewell. It's a departure with no last word. In the most beautiful loves between us, goodbye should never be an afterthought. Just like the first time we dared to reach for love, I believe farewells too can blossom into something beautiful. In our youth, we walked too fast and forgot to say goodbye to those who mattered most. But if given the chance to start over, maybe we'd admit it wasn't about moving forward. It was about running from the pain. So why not begin with your next goodbye? May it not mean farewell forever, but a chance to meet again every day from now on.